Answer, because you are that, you are capable. You are gifted, and you are soon to be opinionated. It's okay to be different, and it's so okay to just be you. The world awaits to receive you.
Quarryville after a Hamilton County deputy was hit by a vehicle and killed on Friday afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I'm Brittany Harry. Right now, that deputy has not yet been identified. The man accused of causing his death, Rodney Hinton Jr., appeared in court this morning. Our Alexis Martin has the latest on what happened in the courtroom this morning. So, Alexis, a lot of deputies were also in that courtroom.
Rodney Hinton Jr. appeared in court today for his arraignment less than 24 hours after police say he intentionally murdered a Hamilton County Sheriff's deputy. The crash happened one day after Rodney's 18-year-old son, Ryan Hinton, was killed by a Cincinnati police officer in East Price Hill. Today, prosecutors argue that Hinton should be held without bond in what the defense is calling an emotionally charged situation. Sheriff's deputies lined a Hamilton County courtroom today in support of the deputy who was killed while the man accused of killing him faced a judge.
I understand there's a lot of sadness and a lot of anger in this room right now, but in the community at large.
38-year-old Rodney Hinton Jr. is accused of aggravated murder after police say he intentionally hit and killed the deputy on Friday around 1 o'clock at Martin Luther King Drive and Burnett Woods Drive. CPD says the deputy was working in detail right outside of UC's campus when Hinton hit him with his car. The crash happened one day after Rodney's 18-year-old son, Ryan Hinton, was killed in a shooting involving Cincinnati deputy who was wearing a uniform and a bright fluorescent vest.
There are no evidence of skid marks. There are no evidence that he tried to avoid him. It appeared from everybody who was on the scene that he deliberately struck the deputy in an attempt to kill him.
Hamilton County Municipal Judge Tyrone Yates says the circumstances are unusual and tragic and ordered no bond for Hinton until his bond hearing on Tuesday. He's being held in the Claremont County Jail right now out of safety concerns.
Welcome to Uncensored Enlightenment Talk, and you're here with your host, Grace Levi. And today we're going to be doing a case update. We're going to be updating you guys on the Rodney Hinton case and the Rodney Hinton Jr. case. There has been some major updates. Rodney Hinton Jr. case, which we know is the dad. There has been some new charges filed. We're going to review that, as well as we have been made aware of that the officer involved in the shooting of Rodney will not be charged. So I want to say thank you so much for being with us today. We're going to get right to it. All right. So one of the first things I want to get to is a clarification on the lawsuit that has been filed. So shout out to the audience member that made me aware that it was not Rodney Hinton Jr.'s baby mother. It wasn't the mother of Rodney Hinton that filed the lawsuit for the gentleman that's being charged with killing the officer. So here, I want to go over a Yahoo article that talks a little bit about this. All right, let's get to it. So here in this article, it says, very strange. Woman filed lawsuit on behalf of Rodney Hinton Jr. without talking to him. So this is what she said. Now, this is what they said in this article. So I'm not totally sure because this case is not dismissed yet. And, you know, if it was dismissed, they would have told us. And I have been keeping my eye on it. So let's just read this. Although a lawsuit has been filed against the Cincinnati police in the Hinton County Jail in Rodney Hinton's Jr. name, his criminal lawyer says Hinton had nothing to do with it. That's because the complaint was drafted by an Atlanta, Georgia woman who told the Inquirer she had never spoken with Hinton and that she filed the lawsuit on her own incentive. Okay. The lawsuit filed May 8th in federal court in Cincinnati claims Hinton was subjected to excessive force following his arrest by Cincinnati police. He was arrested and charged in the May 2nd unaliving of the Hamilton County Sheriff Deputy. So I'm like, okay, They saying all of this, but they still not saying that the lawsuit was actually dismissed. So I said, let me do a little bit digging. We're gonna have to go in and pay attention. So here is the Rodney Hinton. This is on Justia, so we could get a little update and just to see if it was dismissed. And right now, as of right now, the filing was on May 8th. And it doesn't seem like the case was dismissed. There were only 2 filings. It was actually the case. And that's about it. So it wasn't seen yet. I don't see any updates. So we're going to keep you up to date with that. But it made me think like, okay, they're saying that this strange woman did it on her behalf and she never met him. And we went over it. We went over the filing. So let's just look at it real quick. And that's why I was like, at the end of the document, I was like, who is this person? Is this his wife? I mean, is it the mother? So this is the lawsuit. Antoinette Holloway. I was like, I thought Antoinette Holloway was his kid's mother, but it's not. So this is the alleged strange woman. And we know some of the damages that she's going for. Well, they're going for physical pain, injury, emotional distress, and humiliation, denial of liberty, ongoing trauma, financial and legal burden. Now, we went over this, so we'll put that video in the description and at the end, so you'll be able to go look at it because we went into this in detail. But it's no update as of now. So that made me say, how can somebody else file a lawsuit for someone? It's not dismissed yet. They talking a lot of stuff, basically saying, like, she didn't have no right, but she may have had rights. So according to Guardian Legal Network, so I went, I'm going to have to use a second level resource here just to see what's kind of like the tone of the law out there in Cincinnati and how this can happen. So can you sue on behalf of someone else? So sometimes the person who is in harm is not able to file a lawsuit. But what happens then? Can you file a lawsuit on the behalf of someone else? The answer depends on the person who was harmed in your relationship with them. Okay. You may be able to sue on the behalf of someone else in the following situations. One, a person is mentally or physically incapacitated. And as we mentioned, before he put his plea in, that he would possibly be pleading temporary insanity. And that's what they're going for. And I don't know if this is one of her foundations of actually doing this, but we got to keep in mind that it's not dismissed yet. You are the legal guardian. You have power of attorney. You are executor of their estate. You are filing a wrongful death claim. You are a parent of a minor. So let me just look at this real quick. Hold on. Because there were some papers with this and this. I was looking at the filing and I wanted to see, was it a power of attorney attached to it? And it's not. So I was just trying to figure out why wasn't the case dismissed. Do you guys think that she has some legal grounds, like especially since it's not dismissed? Did the judge see it as of now? It was filed a little while ago. It was filed on May 8th. So I wonder how long do they have to actually see a case or hear a case or starts the proceedings on a case out there in Cincinnati. So that was one of the questions that I was kind of asking, like, how did she file a lawsuit on the behalf of him if she wasn't in none of these positions, the legal guardian, power of attorney, or none of that? So we're going to just keep our eyes on that situation to see how that lawsuit goes, because no one has responded. Okay, it hasn't been a response. So moving on. This is basically, I guess they move forward with enhancing the charges, looking at the circumstances of Rodney Hinton Jr.'s actions before he unalived the officer. Now, this is something that we knew already, so I'm not really understanding why this wasn't the foundational basis, because we have heard one of the officers or the prosecutors that talked about basically him not slowing down and continuing to drive. I think we got that clip. But here, this is just a little update. He never slowed down. New charges for Rodney Hinton, who could now face the death penalty. So this was May 8th. It says Hamilton County prosecutors the press conference that Rodney Hinton Jr. has been indicted on new charges. Last week, a yet unnamed Cincinnati police officer fatally unalived 18-year-old Rodney Hinton the morning of May 1st. The following day, Rodney's father, Rodney Hinton Jr., allegedly crashed a car into Hamilton County deputy. Okay, so Rodney Hinton Jr. was initially charged with one count of aggravated murder. Now the grand jury has indicted him on second charges of aggravated murder and additional charges of murder, plus 2 counts of felonious assault. Okay, felonious assault. So felony assault, but it's felonious assault. According to Pillage, the aggravated murder charge both carry the possibility of the death penalty. So I don't know if they're trying to charge him with both to see which one is going to kind of go through. But they added additional charges here, felonious assault, and I guess that's based on him like committing a felony in the car. Meaning, they can probably be considering the felony of him not slowing down and intentionally accelerating the car, driving the car recklessly. So during the press conference, she also provided more details about the moments that led to the Henderson alleged unalivement. Okay, so let's just watch this real quick.
The man accused of killing Deputy Henderson now faces the death penalty after a new indictment by a Hamilton County grand jury. WCPO 9 News reporter Sean Delancey has followed this case every step of the way and spoke to the prosecutor about the capital case she now leads.
Yeah, correct. These are the charges that a grand jury brought down against Rodney Hinton Jr. Aggravated murder carries the death penalty, and prosecutor Connie Pillage says her office will pursue it.
It was the defendant's specific purpose to kill a law enforcement officer.
Prosecutor Pillage says Hinton intentionally hit and killed Deputy Larry Henderson after he watched video of a Cincinnati police officer shooting and killing his son, Ryan Hinton, a day before. CPD says Ryan ran from a stolen car armed with a firearm.
A police shooting leading to what appears to be an act of retribution. Do you see it that way? And can you comment on the unprecedented nature of this case?
I can only tell you that I've never seen someone hunted down and killed like this.
Previous prosecutors have taken these cases up themselves and prosecuted them personally. Is that something you plan to do? And if not, who will be prosecuting it?
I have my top 2 criminal lawyers on this, Kate Burrows and Kip Guinan.
Have they pursued capital murder cases in the past?
Yes.
As for Sheriff Charmaine McGuffey,
what are your thoughts on the death penalty being applied here?
I stand with the prosecutor. I am the sheriff of Hamilton County. I have sworn to uphold the law, and the prosecutor is following the grand jury.
That said, McGuffey called for a cooling of temperatures for everyone as investigations continue.
But I'm asking you to please let justice play out in all cases.
Pillage refused to talk about the police shooting death of Ryan Hinton or the case against 3 teens connected to the stolen car, where all of this began Thursday. Sean Delancey, WCPO 9 News.
All right, we're going to start right there. This is looking really bad. I'm just going to say this. There's some things that I want to highlight that she said. She said this was considered an act of retribution, which I agree to a certain extent, but you have to think of the mental capacity of this person when he did it. And we also considering the time frame when he watched the video and how he behaved between the time he saw the video and saw the cop. So she also used the words that he was hunted down. And I really think that is wordplay, because he was not hunted down. This particular officer, in my opinion, was not hunted down because Rodney Hinton Jr. did not know him. So he did not hunt him down. Now, if it was the officer that was involved, then I can agree with that statement that he was hunted down. But you see how they put the extra hot sauce on as far as Rodney Hinton case. I would hope his case is looked at in that capacity and the total situation surrounding around it. So he is being charged, much harshly, and most of the charges lead to the death penalty. Now, in my opinion, I am not a lawyer. I do not specialize in law in Cincinnati or anything, but I would think that if they went down on lesser charges, they'll probably have more of a chance of actually getting a guilty verdict. The reason why I say that, because his mental capacity, everybody can see that. One, when they show the full body cam to the family too soon. Now I know this is maybe a social norm, but as just someone that knows a little bit about mental health, you can't just present that type of information to anyone, especially to us in the Black community that under these harsh situations, like the times, and us having to be on alert. So with all of these things that's going on right now, the social environment as well as his personal situation, we don't know what that man was going through. We're going to have to keep that in consideration, and I do think that is some of the factors they're going to push forward with this temporary insanity plea. I think that he really have a case. So in my opinion, I think they should lessen the charges to maybe involuntary, because they may have a stronger case. Because I don't think murder means he intentionally set out to go do this. Like he planned it, this, that, and the third. And I don't think he planned it. I think he was driving, saw a cop, and lost it. But you let me know what you think when it comes to the Rodney Hinton Jr. case and the possible charges that you think they should actually go with. Do you agree that it should be murder, capital murder? Do you think, based on the situation, your knowledge of law, will that fly? And we have to keep in mind the jury, the peers, the jury, and their subjectivity to the information, and also their mindset. Okay. So this is a statement from the deputy. We're going to kind of go into why they may think that they can go for murder instead of, aggravated murder or manslaughter or something like that. Let's play this real quick.
For the family of Ryan Hinton released a statement today. It says, in part, prior to the crash, the family, including Ryan's father, Rodney, attended a meeting with Cincinnati police to view body camera footage of Ryan's death. This statement says Rodney left after that meeting and was not heard from until, quote, learning about the tragic incident involving a law enforcement officer who was working a traffic detail near the university. The statement goes on to say, quote, on behalf of Ryan Hinton's family, we offer our heartfelt condolences to the family and colleagues of the officer who was killed yesterday. This is an unimaginable tragedy for this community.
And this right here says right here that something was missing between the time that he was told about his son's death and what happened with the officer. There was no counseling. I know people can refuse counseling, but as well, there was something missing from the family. I just have to say that, because they should have kept their eye definitely on the parents and making sure that they were grieving properly. And that's what I think that was missing from both sides, the family and the officials. I don't know if they offered him grieving counsel or tried to have him sit and talk to a therapist for a little while or had something set up at least. But that was a major gap. And that's why I think temporary insanity, because between that time where he learned what happened and when it happened, no one was in contact with him. All right. So this is a little bit more information of court documents detailing moments leading up to the fatal crash involving a deputy. And then we're going to move on into Rodney Hinton and the update about his son and the officers being acquitted. Okay. I want to say thank you for being here with me today. We're going to be bringing you more cases like this, keeping you updated on what's going on in the community across the United States, things that really affect us, because we have to keep our eyes on it, as well as be that branch of news that's going to be able to give different commentary, because there's not a lot of people talking about this. And when they are talking about it and being pushed through the algorithm, it's more of, he going to jail, this, that, and the third. So we want to give unbiased aspects of it, as well as intertwine the historical and the social, economical, and the pain factor that we got to deal with, looking at these stories, broadcasting these stories, hearing about these stories. Okay, let's play this real quick. This is when he was in court.
Good morning, Mr. Hinton. Good morning.
In this particular video, now you see this man with a smirk on his face. He don't look like he don't look like he totally did himself after basically unaliving somebody and his son not being alive. You can see that he's not totally there, just there. And also what we witnessed, the level of intimidation that was going on in that courtroom, because we never saw a courtroom filled to that capacity with officers like that. Let's just look at that real quick. We're just gonna put that back on the screen real quick so people can remember, because that's not typical, and that's one of the grounds for their lawsuit, or the lady lawsuit, is all of these officers being there. I mean, we never look how many officers. This is totally ridiculous. I mean, people can stay in solidarity, but that right there, that is allegedly being known as the foundations of intimidation in this case. Okay, so this is it. He has nothing. New information claims abuse, intimidation, alleged cop killer. So let's see what they have to say. This is just an update related to his lawsuit, Rodney Hinton Jr. See what they have to say. This is a May 22nd article. Okay. Now, it's saying new details about the federal lawsuit on behalf of Rodney Hinton Jr. emerges Tuesday, with a woman who entered the case saying that she doesn't care what Hinton thinks about the case and that she didn't have direct proof of any abuse or alleged in the suit. Now, I don't know about that. That is real weird. So why the case wasn't dropped? Why didn't he go in and say, no, this lady can't file a lawsuit on my behalf? It's a little weird. So that's why we got to take these articles with a grain of salt. The lawsuit alleged intimidation, physical abuse by the sheriff deputy and Cincinnati police officers. The lawsuit seeks $25 million in damage in Hinton's immediate release. Was filed by Antoinette Holloway of Atlanta. So we're going to under the next friend concept. Okay, which allows someone to file on the behalf of another who cannot do it themselves, or if they feel impacted by the case themselves. Ooh, ooh. So I didn't see that. And let me see. Let's look at the next friends concept. Never heard of that day in my life, but let's see. What does the next friend concept mean? Now, this is this fine law. Let me just read it to you real quick. The next friend is not a party to the lawsuit. When involving in a legal proceeding, it is always good to have a friend or two. But when a legal document refers a person as next friend, it isn't talking about the person's social circle. Rather, the next friend is the individual appearing or appointed by the court to act on the behalf of the person lacking legal capacity, such as a child or a person who has been incapacitated due to illness or injury. And he is temporary insanity, but I don't know if he's saying incapacitated. When is the next friend used? Okay, we're kind of just looking at this real quick, guys. Y'all want me to put it on the screen? Let me put it on the screen, y'all. Try to just the law. Let's put our resource up there. Thank you for being here with me. Hit the like button if you like what I do, how we break down the cases, make it make sense. If you learning something new. Okay, we always got to bring the resources. Okay, when is the next friend used? An individual typically acts as the next friend from a person who is unable to file or manage his or her own lawsuit. One common instinct is the use of the next friend in the case brought on the behalf of a minor child who generally aren't permitted to bring a lawsuit themselves. In this case, the next friend is also the parent, although it can also be another person whose interests are not counter to the child. The next friend may also be used for a person who has been declared incompetent or incapacitated. Often, this may be adults who are suffering an age-related dementia, Alzheimer's disease. In one recent case, the potential $50 million case action lawsuit against the NCAA was filed on behalf of a lead plaintiff by his sister as next of kin. The plaintiff, former University of Texas football player Julia Witter, suffered from early onset of Alzheimer's, which the lawsuit alleges was caused by repeated head injury. So these are some of the instincts where it could be used, but that was something new. The next friend thing, because I'm like, okay, or he gave her legal capacity to do so. But at this point, we're still going to keep an eye on that weird lawsuit that they're calling it, because it has not been dismissed yet. Okay, so this is the last article that they're just to give you a little bit more insight of what Rodney Hinton Jr.'s lawyer is saying. And he's saying his body left his soul. He wasn't there. So they setting the grounds for temporary insanity lawsuit. Shout out to the Atlanta Black Star. This article is brought to you by them. That was published on May 7, 2025. Okay. His soul wasn't even in his body. Attorney for father charged with murder of deputy after police killed son says judge should consider mental illness as 50 cops and family clash in courtroom. The Pac, Ohio courtroom, we watched that erupt in disorder as a distraught family member of Rodney L. Hinton had to be subdued by police, and that was his brother. After he fatally struck a deputy. Okay, Hinton was denied bond, pleaded not guilty to aggravated murder. Now we know it's going to be just straight murder on May 6th. Bennett also told the judge he wanted to make sure that Hinton was treated as a mental illness patient, not a cop killer. Okay, and that's where they made he should be on a protected unit as of right now. Okay, so let's see. Now, outside Teresa Larkin, the aunt of the slain. Okay, here we go. Now, out that time, so you had his brother, you had his family members. So just going to bridge into Rodney Hinton's case, where we're going to get an update on the officers not being charged. Okay, so outside, Teresa Larkins, the aunt of the slain teen Rodney Hinton, spoke to the reporter through tears after the hearing. She said she showed up to support Rodney and to make sure that my nephew's name didn't get swept underneath the rug because of this. And because we're going to get justice for Ryan, because they did him, what they did to him was not right. The prevalent issue in Hinton's defense will be his emotional state. So this is with Hinton. Remember, this is what we're saying. The prevalent issue in Hinton's, which is the father defense, is his emotional state of the mind at the time of the officer's unaliving. Larkin described to the outlet how the news of Ryan's death impacted their family. I know Ryan since the age of 15 years old. This wasn't the Ryan that I knew. It was like his soul wasn't even in his body. You see what we saw? He was just like, he didn't look totally there. I'm going to be honest. She continued, and I can only imagine what he felt when he saw the video, because when he finally seen the video from the beginning to the end, watch my nephew drop, it was like my soul left my body. So I can only imagine what his father felt. Okay, so this is going to bridge us into just a minor flashback of the Rodney Hinton's coroner report, because what we're seeing now, or what we're hearing from the coroner report, is that they don't agree with the total circumstances that's being presented, as far as if the officer's life was in danger. Okay, let's just watch this. Before we get into the coroner report, we're going to look at the top news report that just was released June 17th, which is prosecutors find officers in fatal shooting of Ryan Hinton was justified. So now we're going to move on to this. I want y'all to listen to this, and then we're going to go back into the coroner's report, and we're going to listen. We're going to listen because obviously this is something that it's sad to say. It's pretty normal what we see, what they do to us. So this is now as of June 17, 2025. And this is maybe the reason why Rodney Hinton's father actually snapped, because he most likely, in my opinion, knew that this was going to happen.
Paula, Hamilton County Prosecutor Connie Pillich began with a very simple and very direct statement.
The officer-involved shooting on May 1st, 2025. From my review, I have determined that Officer A was legally justified in his use of force on that day.
Prosecutor Pillich laid out in detail why she decided not to charge the officer with a crime for shooting Ryan Hinton. She began by showing Hinton and 3 accomplices breaking into cars and stealing a car in northern Kentucky in the early morning hours of May 1st. She showed Hinton posing in a picture found on his own social media page with the gun found at the shooting scene. And she showed frame by frame body cam video from the officer who shot Hinton, saying she believed it showed Hinton pointing his gun at the officer. Then she showed witness statements saying that they heard officers telling the 4 men to freeze before they took off running. I pressed Pillich about why she decided that shooting was justified.
Excuse me. Did you determine that the suspect was threatening the officer, or did you determine that there was a threat because he had the gun and could have used it in the future?
Well, there are 2 possible scenarios, and they both are valid in this situation. If Hinton had not used the gun on the officer, he could have escaped and used it on someone else pretty easily. But the real issue here is, what would a reasonable officer think seeing a young man running at him with a gun like this?
Now, wait a minute. Let me put myself on the screen. You see how she's turning the story around? We're going to listen to the coroner report, because the way he got shot is not proving that the statement is correct. So she's directly saying that he picked up the gun, allegedly, because it was dropped, and then pointed it at the officer. So we're going to kind of just do a flashback here, and what a reasonable officer, keep that in mind, what a reasonable officer would think if their life was on the line. And we're going to look at the positions of the bullet. I'm sorry, I just had to pause. She directly said that Hinton pointed the gun at the officer, and I really believe that statement is a lie. You guys let me know after we rewatch the coroner report. Let me know what you think.
Running towards him.
Oh, let's stop. It says that Rodney Hinton was running towards him, which is another bold-faced lie, because he wasn't running towards the officer. But we're going to watch it.
Running towards him.
Hold on.
With the gun like this. Is what would a reasonable officer think seeing a young man running at him with a gun like this, running towards him?
The officer's identity has never been released under Ohio's Marsy's Law, which is actually designed to protect victims of violent crime.
Wow. We're going to stop right there. How does that officer fit that criteria? Now, we're just going to do a little short flashback, and we're going to look at the coroner's report real quick. And you heard what she said. She said that Rodney Hinton pointed the gun at the officer. So let's listen to this, because it sounds like in her actual coroner office are not on the same page. And it sounds like the coroner office don't want to have no part to any lie or any unjustified. I want to say thank you for being here today. Please hit the like button if you like my commentary. Please like and subscribe, and also leave your comment below. We want to hear what you think about this.
Preliminary findings from the coroner in an officer-involved shooting leave as many questions as they provide answers.
Today, the coroner reported that Ryan Hinton had 3 bullet wounds, potentially caused by 2 bullets. David Winter was at the coroner's news conference, which in and of itself was controversial. David?
Yes, it was, Paula. The coroner was going to release her findings last week, but postponed when the prosecutor served her with a grand jury subpoena. The prosecutor had said that she wanted all the information from the case gathered before releasing any of it.
Now, I'm just going to stop here, y'all. What do y'all think she wanted that information for? Stopped her from releasing it the week before. I'm thinking she probably wanted to jam her up a little bit and tell her what, hey, this is what we doing. This is what you better do. Allegedly. But we're going to listen to what the coroner actually said and did afterwards.
The coroner flinched, then followed through with releasing her report today.
we wanted to present you with the actual facts and not have conjecture out there with somebody saying this and somebody saying this, and and it's all confusing, and then the tensions are going up. So let me provide you with the actual facts.
And here they are. The coroner says Ryan Hinton received 3 bullet wounds when he was shot by police in no particular.
Let's remember, she said that he was running towards the police and had the gun pointed.
Order. One shows a bullet went into his forearm and exited his forearm without hitting bone. Another bullet wound shows a bullet entered his left armpit, hit a rib, went through part of his heart, and exited the center of his chest. A third wound shows a bullet went into the back of his shoulder, traveled along his back just under the skin, and lodged at the base of his skull, still just under the skin. The coroner.
I think that green one may have been the first one. No, maybe it was this one, the green one, the red one, then the blue one, just by the way he was running. All of these have to be from the side, regardless. There's nothing pointed from the front. So how could she justifiably say that Rodney Hinton, the young boy, was pointing the gun and running towards the officer? This is why I believe Mr. Rodney Hinton Jr. lost his mind before, because he must have knew that this was going to happen, like we know happens a lot in our community towards our people. Let's finish play. And I'm not justifying what Rodney Hinton Jr. did, but I am justifying the mindset and understanding if this man actually is lost his mind. We are the only nation where this continues to happen to us. How strong mentally do you think a people can be?
Says the bullet that killed Hinton was the one that hit his heart. The big question, how did the bullet pierce Hinton's side and then exit through the center of his chest?
Does that mean he was shot from slightly behind?
No, it was straight from the side. It did contact a rib on the way. So, as you know, when projectiles, when they hit something solid, they tend to deflect.
And so
she said it straight from the side, okay? Straight from the side. So what the coronary office is saying is in direct contradiction to what the police sergeant is saying and her justification of not bringing charges against the officer. Again, right? So now what we're going to do is family of Rodney Hinton plans civil lawsuit after prosecutor rules shooting justified. Now, we already found a document that highlight that there was proceedings already filed, but we're going to read this and see if it was something new, because we already read the document that talks about that, the unjustifiable killing, but maybe they did an amendment or something. Let's get to it. So the family of the 18-year-old Ryan Hinton, who was unalived last month by East Price Hill, plans to file a lawsuit after the prosecutor decided not to charge the officers involved and decided they found deviations. Mr. Rucker, the attorney representing Hinton estate and former judge and prosecutor in Hamilton County, that's a good background. I like that. Expressed disappointment with the decision, stating that he and Hilton loved ones did not see justice served. Ruckers, who has known prosecutor Phyllis, so she knows the prosecutor. Okay, so please excuse. I thought that was the sheriff, the deputy. But that is a prosecutor. Since law school, did not attribute any political motivations to her decision, but was confused and confounded by her justifications of the deadly interaction. We believe the group of citizens should be the one to make the determination of whether or not, in the eyes of the civil court, that the tragic death of young Ryan Hinton was not justified. And we intend to advocate for the position as loud and strongly as and initially as we can, intentionally as we can. All right, so Ryan Hinton's cousin, Marilyn Howard, also spoke, calling the prosecutor's decision a joke and expressed that he wanted his deceased cousin to know he is loved and missed. Rucker mentioned that he and his colleagues have been investigating the situation and have access to information not made public. He said he knows the name and history of the officers involved in the statement. You all right? They're bringing up, see, and they won't release the officer because it's probably what do we call them? Police station hopper, where those bad cops jumps from police station to police station, state to state, allegedly. So Mr. Rucker is saying that he knows a little bit about this officer who's involved. And it says he said that he knows the name and history of the officer involved and stated their credibility should not be accepted simply because they made a statement without what happened. When asked if they plan to present this in the civil suit, Ruckers respond, absolutely. He also stated that they disagree with the decision not to present the case to a grand jury. There are neighboring jurisdictions who just who takes every single police case, shooting, homicide to a grand jury. So he said, why didn't you just, send it to the grand jury like every other jurisdiction do? To let citizens look at the evidence and make a decision whether charges are appropriate. This should have been presented to a grand jury, Rucker said. Okay. So Cincinnati NAACP echoed the story. It says, she said there was just her and a group with her that made the decision. Why can't it be presented to a grand jury? And NAACP President David Whitehead said transparency would be taking all the evidence and giving it to somebody else that's independent so they can make the judgment. Okay. So at this point, it says, Peachley said Hilton was holding a loaded gun with an extended magazine that had a bullet in the chamber when he shot, allegedly. Now, this is what he's saying. Now, and he pointed the gun in a bladed manner. Y'all remember, he pointed the gun in a bladed manner. And Officer A, and when I use the term bladed, that's just a colloquism from when you running in one or opposed direction, but your body is in the opposite. You can Google it and look at it. I still didn't know what it meant. I got to Google it. It's a bladed position, and I didn't know. Did you see the video footage where the gun was pointed? Whitehead said. And that's what I want you guys to think about. Go look at that video again. And then also look at the ballistic report from the coroner office. And I want to say a shout out to her for being so honest and transparent, because obviously something is not right here. And that's why this case is so important to us in the Black community and communities alike, because at the end of the day, any officer involved shooting and they get away with is a precedent that's set for everyone. And if you have similar circumstances, you may not receive the justice. So this is why we have to stay on point, okay, to what's going on. Now, with that goes to say, I want to say thank you so much for being with us today, being with me, going over the Rodney Hinton case and the Rodney Hinton Jr. case. We're going to continue to keep you up to date on what's going on with this particular case. Please hit the like button if you like what I do. The resources to this video will be at the bottom. Again, thank you for being here with Grace Levi. I love you. I appreciate you. And you already know what we are doing.
This is Super Mayor Tiffany A. Henry, the People's Mayor. So, you guys doing a lot of sniffing.
Answer. Because you are that, you are capable. You are gifted, and you are soon to be opinionated. It's okay to be different. And it's so okay to just be. The world awaits to receive you.
Would you like to learn a brand new and innovative way to invest your extra money that has a low barrier to entry and low competition? What if I told you that it is a guaranteed method to get up to 18 to 20% return on your investment? Tax lien and deed purchasing is the only way to get into the real estate market through the back door. No credit and no loans needed. This method isn't commonly taught, and therefore the competition is very low, for now. Put together a 14-hour info-packed course which will teach you everything you'll need to know to get started. Learn at your own pace, step-by-step guided video and aids to start you on the TLC deed investment process. The course offers many learning tools for new investors, helping ensure you safely invest in tax liens and deeds. Contact us today and